Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome everyone to this online session in which we're going to be talking in detail about the storage capacity auctions in Italy. So the name of the session is Unleashing Success in Italy's Energy Storage Capacity Auctions. I don't know where you're joining from today, but I would really appreciate if you in the audience introduce yourself, your company, and also tell us where you are connecting from. And to introduce myself, first and foremost, my name is Belén Gallego. I am from the RENMAT by ATA Insights team, and I am connected today from Valencia in Spain. We have a pretty international team here today talking about the Italian auctions. Everyone, of course, welcome, and we always love to see where you guys are joining from. Okay, so just to get started, I'd like you to meet the main panelists of today, who are going to be the ones telling us about the opportunities in the Italian capacity auctions. And I'd like to ask Andrea, first of all, if you could please introduce yourself so people get to know you a little bit.
Andrea Zaghi, I'm a senior advisor for Afry Management Consulting, which is a leading advisory firm for energy sector. In my role, I deal with business development and regulatory affairs monitoring. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea, and welcome. Next, I'd like to ask Salvatore to please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Salvatore Alessandro Casa from Elemens. We are a consultancy firm active in Italy. We are Italy specialist. I work on the regulation of the wholesale market and its modeling. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and welcome, Salvatore. And Carmen, please, if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Carmen Kompatscher. I'm a senior growth associate at Fluence. So we are a global energy storage solutions provider, very active in the European markets, amongst others, also Italy. I'm based out of Germany, but focusing on the Italian market in my role. And we, in general, our team and my role is focusing on accelerating new and existing markets for battery storage in the sense of market analysis and policy analysis.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Carmen. So Fluence, Elemens, and Afry will, of course, be present at the advertising goes here. REMAT Storage Italia is our event. It will take place on the 16th, 17th of April in Rome. And if you haven't signed up and if you haven't taken a look at the speakers that are going to be there, the topics that we're going to discuss, I recommend that you do so, because we're going to go A to Z into how to actually take advantage of the opportunities that right now this market is presenting, which are many, and is exploding really, really fast. So I would recommend that everybody just downloads the brochure and perhaps consider being there and meeting everyone in person. And now, without further ado, we'll just go into the topic itself. So Andrea is going to be the first panelist. So I'm going to ask you to get ready, Andrea. And whilst Andrea gets ready, I'd just like to tell you a little bit of how it's going to work today. We're going to have 3 presentations, okay? And then after that, we're going to take a little bit of time for Q&A. Let's see, time permitting, how much we have. To send the questions, please use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, not the chat, because they get lost in the chatter. And then that will make it easier for us to manage it. Send them through there and we'll do our best to responding at the end of the session. And just as a reminder, we are recording the session and you will get both the recordings and also the materials in your inbox this week. And without further ado, Andrea, go right ahead, begin your presentation.
Thank you very much, Belen. And I ask if you can see my presentation.
Yes, I can see your presentation, Andrea. Go right ahead.
Okay. 2 words about Afry Management Consulting is a company dedicated to management services, consulting services in the energy industry with a global network of more than 500 consultants. We are part of Afry Group, which is an engineering services company, multinational with headquarters in Sweden. In our service portfolio, we have mainly forward-looking market analysis, M&A and transaction services, and we are focused on networks as topics on networks, generation, hydrogen, and mobility. So the topic of today is the storage development in the next years, in the years until 2030. We calculated that there is at today a combined pipeline of about 6.5 gigawatt storage capacity in Italy, best capacity on the left side, and pumped hydro capacity in this slide on the right side. It's quite obvious that this pipeline is strictly related to the energy climate plan of Italy, in which our government has planned to install 70 gigawatt of new renewable plants, intermittent renewable plants in PV solar and for 50 gigawatt and wind for 20 gigawatt, more or less. So this huge development, this huge process of decarbonization has to pose to other 2 pillars, the grid developments of transmission and distribution grids, and then on the development of storage capacity. We can see that as regards best capacity, we have already 2.5 gigawatts of authorized plants, 1.5 is under construction, another 2.5 is in permitting phase, and all these plants will be in addition to 2.3 existing small scale plants. For pumped hydro capacity, we have already 18 operational pumping plants, very old, but for the next year we will forecast another 4 plants for approximately 1.5 gigawatts of capacity. The operators who are developing these storage plants at the moment, they don't have a full visibility on how their profitability will be, what will be their envisaged profitability, because if you go on a purely merchant basis, the lifetime costs in terms of capex and opex is not counterbalanced by depending on our estimation, on revenues you can obtain on MGP, the day-ahead market, on MSD and MB, which are the ancillary services markets. So there is a missing money, and this is what a project would have to receive from incentive schemes in order to make up this missing money. In the recent past, the scheme who incentivize the batteries was capacity market in not a proper way, because it's a scheme dedicated to guarantee the adequacy of our electricity system, and so is dedicated mainly to thermoelectric gas-fired existing plants. But in the last auction in 2022 for delivery period starting in 2024, more or less 1 gigawatt of batteries were awarded with this scheme, with 70,000 euro for megawatt per year contracts for 15 years for authorized new entrants, and 50,000 megawatt per year for non-authorized plants. Terna has been reviewing the mechanism of capacity market. Probably there will be another auction in the autumn 2024, but as I said, it's mainly dedicated to gas-fired plants. The mechanism chosen by the government in order to allow the procure of the required electricity storage capacity to support the decarbonization of the Italian energy system is the MAX. Through the MAX, Terna aims at building 71 gigawatt hour of new long-duration storage capacity by 2030, and this incentive will be based on auction and on the awarding of standardized contracts distinguished by technology. Currently, the reference technology chosen by Terna are lithium batteries and hydro pump storage, but in the future, maybe that there will be other technologies. Every 2 years, Terna will publish the technology report, a study identifying other relevant technologies. The target of MAX is mainly supporting 8-hour storages. Probably the competition will rapidly grow, also in also viewing the huge pipeline we have, but at the moment we are still missing the key parameters in the regulation, as for example remuneration level. So the picture is not is not completed. From a geographical point of view, we have a focus on southern regions for MAX, also because in the auction of capacity market, the northern regions and Sardinia, will be awarded. So MAX, in a snapshot, ensure the fixed annual remuneration requiring the battery centrally dispatched on MGP and are able to provide ancillary services. There are some auction rules, as a single pay as bid, competitive auction based on maximum available energy of the asset. There will be also correction coefficients defined by Terna, which will be applied to each offer, and in Terna's view can have an impact in selecting the preferred duration for 6 or 8 hours. Auction contingent will be defined in requirement documents, and very important, when the plants will be in operation in 2028 is the delivery date. Terna will manage MGP operation of the storage asset, executing time-shifting contracts assigned on a centralized platform managed by GME. And in remuneration regards ancillary services, there will be a very severe revenue sharing with Terna, the 95% of the remuneration of this market. And so it's quite clear that, and I'm approaching to the end. The approach of Max is very is favoring a limited market risk exposure and merchant operation. Before and after the max contract period can be an upside. Before, because the delivery period is 2028, but if you are ready before, you can go merchant. And after, because the delivery period is around 12 or 14 years, and a battery could have a lifetime period of 15 years or more. So there will be a very high fixed remuneration in the total amount of your revenues. It's so a mechanism with similarities to a RAB-based mechanism for distribution grids or transmission grids, and might attract not only utilities, but in our view, also investment funds. Last slide. Some first impression, first range on the profitability. It's quite clear that there are two different mechanisms, one preferred, that is Max, and another capacity market that in the end of this year could be a second chance, but capacity market provides a lower fixed premium compared to that of Max, leaving operators, because it leaves operators more exposed to the market risk. If you have in mind the first slide in which we present the missing money, capacity market is the right mechanism to cover that missing money, leaving all the revenues of other markets for the operator. In the Max, the mechanism is very different, because with the premium you have to make all your profit or quite all your profit, and so the revenues from other markets are shared with Terna. I finished. Thank you for your attention, and I stop sharing.
Thank you very much, Andrea. So you've given us a very great overview of how it's all going to work, and the opportunities and also the challenges. So we're going to go into the next presentation. Salvatore, if you want to get it ready. But in the meanwhile, we've already been receiving some questions, and both Carmen and Salvatore have been answering them. So you're welcome to take a look also as they arise. So Salvatore, I can see your screen perfectly, and please go for it.
Thank you. So in my intervention, I will talk about how the Max will shape the Italian market and how will change the structure of this market. We as Elemens are a consultancy firm based in Italy. We are Italy specialists because we have a deep understanding of the Italian regulation, of the Italian market, and we have some kind of familiarity within business and institutional environment in Italy. This allows us to have a clear understanding of what is the market today and how will be the market in the future and in the next years. Our consultancy covers the entire electricity sectors, but mainly we are focused on renewable and on battery. Starting from 2019, we have helped a lot of our clients supporting them in the analysis of different projects in gigawatts of project of battery by assessing for them the regulation, by providing them a map of the best nodes for the provision of ancillary services in Italy, and by forecasting the revenue streams. We are also provider of bankable price curves forecast for the AI market. And so we all now collect all this kind of information in our best report and data, where quarterly we give to our clients a view of how the market will evolve for batteries. And part of our analysis is focused on assessing the pipelines. You see here in the slide that we track more or less 12 gigawatts of projects which are undergoing the permitting procedures. And we think that these are the real numbers to look at when trying to understand how to optimize the participation into the MACSE. Because in Italy, we have 80 or more gigawatts of connection requests from batteries across all the entire country. But these are just projects. In order to understand who will be able to participate into auction, you have to carefully look at who has filed for authorization, so which are the real projects that will come online in the future. And you see here that out of this almost 30 gigawatt of project, and we have information, detailed information for all of them, so location, owner, duration, capacity, and things like that. You see that a third of them is capacity that is has already received all the permits to be built and to be operated. And you see here that the pipeline is mostly focused in the southern part of the country, where renewables will need a lot of storage to be integrated into the system. But you also see that there is quite a significant share of capacity that is being developed in the northern part of the country, maybe looking for a different remuneration scheme, not the MACSE one, because it's unlikely that the MACSE will reach far in the north, but maybe there we will see a different business model structure with the capacity market and the provision of ancillary services and arbitrage on the spot market. So we have the Italy, which is split into north and central north market zone for this merchant business model, and southern part of the country, which in our opinion will be covered by MACSE and by the Terna targets. But so in order to understand how to better size, to optimize the participation into the MACSE, it's important to look at, as I said before, two parameters. So the available capacity which can participate into MACSE, and so the permitted project, because permitting is needed in order to be eligible for participating into the auction. And so this could give an idea on how the competitive pressure in the auction will change in the next year. So you see here that we have an increasingly amount of best STMG requests. The data on the STMG are updated to July 2023. If you just interpolate the numbers, you see here that now we should have more than 100 gigawatt of connection requests, and the permitting projects are increasingly grown. And you see here that we almost have 4 gigawatt of projects. Lots, say, part of them, almost 2 will have participated into the capacity market. And it's also let's say, interesting to understand how the difference between coupled and standalone project will allow them to have an effective participation into the auction, because in some cases you may have coupled project which may be featured by lower DevEx. On the other hand, the regulation may impose additional constraints on them. So we think that it's of paramount importance to look at how the regulation will evolve and how, let's say, the Terna regulation will impact the participation of different assets into the grid. So the thing is that we are in an environment where the competition will grow, because there are a lot of projects that are almost close to receiving the permits. On the other side, we have to look at the demand. You see here that Terna is forecasting to cover with the MACSE a significant share of capacity, the part in gray. So we're talking about 12 gigawatt of storages before 2033, with basically a first gigawatt that will be online in 2028. And so this can give us some kind of understanding of which will be the supported volume in the first auction that will be run at the end of this year or at the beginning of 2025. So the thing is that Terna will play and could play with the supported volumes that will be assigned into the different auction in order to make all the procedure competitive. And so in our opinion, this is something that significantly shaped the market in Italy, because in the southern part of the country, it will not be a competition in the market, but it will be a competition for the market. So it's important to have a clear understanding of the demand available, let's say that will be defined by Terna, but also on the capacity that is willing to take part into this auction and actually, let's say, participate, and have a clear understanding of your competitor can give you an idea on how to optimize the battery participation, because the participation in this auction is a pay-as-bid participation. So what you bid is actually what you get in case you win an auction. And we think that having a MACSE contract is one of the only things that can enable the business case now in Italy, in the southern part of the country, reducing the relevancy of the merchant market scenario that we as Element perform. We perform merchant scenarios by taking into account how the MACSE will impact the market. So I've performed some kind of sensitivity with our models in order to understand how MACSE could shape the markets in the future. You see here that 2022 has been like the best year ever for best market revenues on the day-ahead market. And we have backtested the day-ahead market revenue by adding a portion of the storage capacity forecasted to 2030 by Terna's target. And you see here that the revenues reduction with just 10% of this capacity into the system is significantly, almost revenues are halved by only adding 10% of the targets on the day-ahead market. And so it's important to understand that when assessing the merchant market participation, you should take into account how the MACSE will change the market. Of course, this is some sort of backtest sensitivity on the past. In the future, the scenarios are different, because on one side, the renewable will increase volatility. On the other side, the forecasted reduction of gas prices will decrease volatility. So when performing a scenario assessment, you need to take into account all these features. But of course, it's important to understand that the MACSE will bring into the system a lot of capacity that will participate into the market without any kind of market incentives, because they will receive a fixed premium. And so this could impact also revenues for the other assets into the system. And this is true on the energy market, but also on the ancillary services market, because the MACSE imposed to the assets that are receiving a premium to participate into the market with two constraints. One is to apply caps on the bids submitting to the ancillary services market, and the other one is to give to the system a 95% profit sharing back. So you understand that these two constraints impact the market and the ancillary services market. And we here have backtested the 2023 ancillary services market in Italy in the different market zones. We have performed this analysis on nodal level, but you understand that plotting 100 points would be quite difficult. And so we have taken some kind of zonal averages. And you see here that the MACSE cap significantly impacts the spread that are available on the ancillary services market, mainly on the downward side, because the upward prices are already capped by the presence of the capacity market. And so you see that the MACSE, when will be online in 2028, will significantly impact also this market, reducing the opportunities not only for the ones who are participating into MACSE, but also on the other assets that will be online when MACSE will be there, so from 2028 on. And you see here that the reduction of prices is important. So we think that the regulation in Italy is something that significantly affects the spot market. Differently from the other countries in Europe, we have a regulation which, let's say, it's part of the game and should be taken into account when assessing the merchant business model, which is something that still remains in the southern part of the country, but should be carefully evaluated by taking into account the different regulation we have in Italy, because it is not possible just to copy and paste the business model on that you may have in other countries in Italy, because the regulation is significantly different, starting from the structure of the ancillary services market and going forward with this regulation that will kick in a couple of years. And I think I've closed my intervention, and so thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much, Salvatore, for your presentation. And yes, we've even dug deeper in there. There are still some questions coming, but considering you guys are doing a really good job answering them. So Carmen, you're up next. And then after that, we'll take questions from the audience, the ones that you have guys sent and that haven't been answered. And also we've prepared some, and I've prepared some for you guys. Can you put that into a big screen, please, Carmen? Yeah, perfect. Okay,
yes,
you're ready to go.
Perfect. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Then let's dive right into my presentation. So I would like to start with a quick view on where the Italian market stands on a European comparison. So as you can see, Europe in general finds itself in an unprecedented stage of demand for battery storage in deep mass markets, while at the same time also more emerging markets are stepping up. And Italy is really leading the way here now with a massive state support scheme to ramp up storage deployments by the 9 gigawatts, 71 gigawatt hours that Andrea and Salvatore have mentioned already, in addition to the already auctioned capacity market assets. And furthermore, Italy is also one of the first countries to move towards long duration energy storage, which is a very interesting aspect of it. So these developments, which we're seeing at the moment, will enable Italy really to climb the development curve and become one of the leading storage markets in Europe in the years to come. And let's just have a quick look at what the Italian scheme also compares to on a European level, because over the past years and months specifically, we have also seen a lot of schemes coming up in other countries. So especially under the national recovery and resiliency plans, for example, in Spain and in Greece, we have seen large packets for supporting energy storage, but it doesn't really compare to Italy. So as we've heard already, it's pretty unique in Italy, but also in Europe, especially due to the long duration character of the Maxe scheme and also the quite centralized approach that the TSO is taking here. On the long duration requirement, I think the interesting part is that also other countries like Ireland and the UK, for example, are currently consulting on long duration energy storage schemes. But it seems like Italy will be the front runner for such a scheme and for really supporting long duration energy storage. But also judging from a pure financial perspective, as you can see here on the slide, Italy is really bringing energy storage deployment to a new level. And with that, I would just like to take a few words on why we at Fluence are in the position to speak also about the Italian market. Before we dive deeper into the Maxe requirements in a minute. So basically, Fluence has been in the Italian market for more than 11 years by now. We have been working on innovative energy storage solutions since commissioning our first project in 2012. And we have since then established ourselves as one of the leading suppliers globally, but also in Italy for energy storage. And to speak about global footprint, we have by now a global footprint of almost 9 gigawatts deployed and awarded projects. More than 2 gigawatts of it are in Europe. And generally, we operate under the mission that there is more than just a massive increase of renewable energy generation, but a transformation of the way we power our world needed to create a more sustainable future. But now I would like to look into what we can expect from the Maxe scheme, focusing on the more technical system level perspective. And I've tried to analyze a bit what we know so far, because in terms of like technical requirements, not so much is known as of now, since we're still waiting for basically the final auction documentation to be published. But from judging from the study from Terna and also the consultation documents, there is a couple of details which we can highlight already today. So I think the first part was also one of the questions in the chat already, in terms of what permitting stage the assets need to be when they participate in the auction. So at least for battery storage systems, the authorizations need to be in place 40 days before the start of the auction. And just to highlight here before we go into all the other requirements, since Fluence is currently focused on battery energy storage, I will be focusing on the Asta breve mostly, or the requiremements for battery energy storage, and not so much on pumped hydro. But yeah, that leads me already to the reference technologies. For the Asta breve, there is the information available that the lithium ion will be the focus in the first round of the auctions, due to its highest technical and commercial maturity compared to other technologies. But just like Andrea has mentioned already at the beginning, there will be a re-evaluation from Terna every 2 years about if any other technologies have reached the same technical and commercial maturity as lithium ion and pumped hydro. And also, this was also a question in the chat, I think there is also a 90% or at least 90% of the assigned quota will be going to lithium ion, but the 10% range can also go to other technologies in the auction. The duration is definitely one of the most interesting parts. So 8-hour long duration procurement seems to be the ideal duration. However, also other durations can participate. There will be a derating coefficient that will be applied to shorter or longer durations, basically. And for the asset lifetime for battery energy storage systems, 12 to 14 years lifetime have been highlighted in the Terna study. However, it needs to be mentioned that this is a rather conservative view, considering also the cycling scenario that Terna has highlighted in their study, which is of 1 cycle per day, where a longer asset lifetime is also realistic. In terms of delivery, the considered planning period for battery storage systems is 2 to 3 years, which makes the assumption likely that there will be a T-3 delivery. And finally, there's also some information available about availability, which is pretty interesting, since there seems to be a threshold at 94.3% before basically penalties become due for unavailability. And also here, this is a bit of a conservative view, since the industry standard for availability is something like 97% for lithium-ion battery storage at the moment. But it's important to note this, since this will trigger basically penalty payments, and the same counts also for delays, which will also basically trigger penalties for unavailability, and of course also missed realization or withdrawal from the contract with Terna will do the same. So basically penalty payments will become due. And now I would like to translate these requirements a bit into what is important for choosing also suitable battery storage system for being able to participate in the Maxi auction. So first of all, I think it's important to highlight that an energy storage project should always be viewed as a system of systems. So basically it's made of several different subsystems, which include, of course, the hardware pieces, the software pieces, delivery, commissioning, servicing, and also asset management over lifetime. And hence, it's quite essential for being successful to have a whole of the system approach, which integrates all pieces into one offering, starting, of course, from a highly skilled design and proven safe technology for the battery storage system. And something very important to highlight here is also the new updated Italian grid code, which requires advanced BESS controls, for example, for inertia, for black start, and power oscillation damping. And here it's really paramount to also have a full system supplier who is experienced with grid forming applications and has also a track record with this kind of technical application from other countries, for example, where this is already a bit more mature, like the UK with the stability pathfinders. And for the Fluence part, we have some reference here in the stability pathfinders in the UK, but also the grid boosters in Germany, and we have already an operational portfolio of projects in Lithuania, which has some of these features included and can also already fulfill them. Finally, what is also important to highlight, of course, is the track record and experience in the Italian market, which is definitely something which will be helpful for complying with the max requirements, and especially also when looking at penalty payments that will become due if there are delays in the delivery of, or in the procurement, in the deployment of the system. And finally, service agreements as well as availability and performance guarantees are definitely something which should be included in a system offering, especially the availability part, as I've mentioned before in the requirements, is of paramount importance to basically make sure that there is no downtime, and that the downtime of the system, which would then basically trigger unavailability penalties. Overall, when looking at the battery storage project in Italy, it is essential to consider basically the full value of an energy storage asset over lifetime, rather than just looking at the initial investment, so to say. Because, as I've said, battery storage system is a highly complex system which comes together in a set of parameters which all play into the long-term value of the assets. So basically, a strong technology provider should be able to achieve the high availability, as mentioned before, but at the same time also significantly reduce the supply chain risk, which is something that Terna has highlighted also in their study, through leveraging the basically supply chain relationships and also volume agreements with suppliers. And finally, also a whole of system safety concept can significantly reduce, for example, the insurance risk for such systems, not just by providing a comprehensive set of safety features, but at the same time also by providing testing and operational data which can verify the safety concept. And safety will be really paramount also in those systems, since they will be an essential part of the Italian electricity system. And with that, I would like to close the presentation just by highlighting our Gridstack solution, which is based on our 6th generation Fluence cube, which you can see in the picture here. And this is the most widely deployed product in the world for battery energy storage, with more than 20,000 units produced and delivered since launch. And of course, we're taking into consideration all these aspects from the Maxe scheme, which we've seen so far, but we will also stay on top of the upcoming parameters, which will be carefully considered whenever we focus on a system design for the Italian market. And overall, we're very excited about this market, and are looking forward to seeing the Italian market really ramping up in the next years. And with that, I'm at the end of my presentation. I'm going to hand it over back to Belen.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Really, 3 really excellent presentations, different angles, different points being made there. Excellent. We do have some questions. You've done an amazing job with questions too. We've got right now 17 minutes from what I can tell. So if you have any questions pending, this is the time you send them across so that we can take as many of them as possible. So let me ask some of the questions that we do have open and go through them and see what else we get. Otherwise, I have some for you guys. Andrea, you had one here, although I'm going to open this for everybody, okay, in case you guys want to add. A very layered question from Jaime that says, is Maxe compatible with revenue stacking? All of these things were discussed, but I think the question is asked because there are many items of this option that are not well understood. So I think it's important that we answer the question and we're clear, you know. Is Maxe compatible with the revenue stacking? Do you find, says Afry, but also Elemens, the combination of schemes interesting and feasible for battery energy storage system assets? How is the methodology for correction coefficiency defined by Terna? Would Maxe state how BESS, so battery energy storage system, would be operated by Terna so it does not incur into excessive degradation? So there's many parts of the question. Andrea will write ahead.
Maxe should be compatible with revenue stacking. not at maximum level, because you have to participate to MSD and ancillary services market, but the revenue you can obtain from this market will be shared with Terna for 95%. Maybe that in the final version of Max framework, this cut of your revenues could be lower, 80% or 70%, but at the moment the situation described by Terna in the consultation document is quite adverse for market. It's risk adverse, and so I think that we think that Max is a very low risk instrument for investors, and is not a topic that of revenue stocking, only for a little part. In the capacity market, we will have probably a very low amount of possible new batteries involved with this incentivation mechanism, but in that scheme, the revenue stacking is a possibility, a concrete possibility, and so operators more oriented to the market could obtain a more satisfactory profit. And the methodology for correction coefficients defined by Terna is quite complicated, and with this definition, Terna will be able to favor different duration from the target one of 8 hours. But for a complete explanation of this, I can send something of written or a slide. And would Max state how the best would operate to Terna so doesn't see degradation? Max will define also the I think, but it's a matter of technical document. We miss also still some documents to define the complete framework, and so when we will have all the documents, we could answer also to the last question.
Maybe if I may,
have the documents.
I can add one more point to that. So basically, in the study from Terna, there was a mentioning of basically a one cycle scenario per day. So that would basically give some guidance on that there will be no excessive degradation, since that's a pretty standard scenario. But like Andrea said, it will be final only with the final documentation.
When are you guys expecting the final documentation for the auction?
Before June. Because Terna is forecasting to have the auction at the end of this year. They need 6 months in advance to publish everything, so it should be June. If I may, let me add something on the possible hybridization of the models. Well, Terna leaves open the possibility to do this, but you need to take into account that the merchant part will not be eligible to participate into the capacity market, and I think it may struggle to find some. It may struggle with bankability issues. So it could be possible to hybridize the model, but it should be carefully evaluated the revenues that can be, let's say, captured in the markets by providing time arbitrage and ancillary services market. Like I said in my intervention, these two markets will be quite impacted by the Max. Moreover, we need to take into account that if you want to participate into the Max with the optimal sizing duration, you need to take into account the coefficient which will be published by Terna, which in my opinion will favor short duration storages, because with the same amount of megawatt hour you can provide additional feature because you will have an higher number of megawatt installed. But and this could in principle impact also the sizing and not making you the optimal sizing for the provision of merchant services. So it's quite complex, but this is something that could, in some case, leave some kind of additional freedom to the operator to design the best business case for the asset.
Salvatore, now that you've mentioned this, there was a question that kept going back from Andrew that said, from Salvatore's comment above, it sounded like shorter durations would be favored by the coefficients, which is what you just said. Which is, he wants to know why, whether there is any more information you guys can give. Yeah.
The idea behind this is that the TSO has always stated that they want 8-hour duration assets, because in principle, this is the target duration that will reduce the cost for the system. On the other hand, I think that this regulation is something that started back in 2019, where the MAXE was, let's say, designed for pumped hydro. Now we have battery and 8-hour duration assets. Struggle to meet this kind of duration. Carmen can for sure add something on this on the technological side, because she for sure knows this better than me. But in principle, according to the regulation, Terna will need to make all the duration eligible for market participation, and with this coefficient, they will favor shorter duration assets, because if you install the same amount of megawatt hours, so let's say 100 megawatt hour, with a 2-hour duration asset, you need to install 50 megawatt, with a 4-hour 25. So with the same amount of megawatt hour, you can provide additional services to the grid with the 25 additional megawatt you have in the 2-hour duration asset. So Terna will give you some kind of premium in the auction. On the other hand, the cost expressed in €1,000 per megawatt hour installed of capacity installed is lower for the 4-hour duration asset. And so the asset will be able to submit in the bid a lower bid, submit in the auction a lower bid. So it will be a matter of capex and on the other side coefficient, in order to understand which is the best duration for participating into the auction. And on the other hand, you need also to consider that if you want to hybridize the model, as we were saying before, you should take into account which duration gives you the higher revenues on the market, also considering all the constraints imposed by the MAX and by other regulations. Maybe Carmen.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Yes, you wanted to
I think
ask
it could
something?
be useful if you can comment on 8-hour, 4-hour, because for sure you're expert on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think first of all, I'd like to highlight that it's. I think there is a lot of thinking also in the market that it's basically a contradiction. I saw also one of the comments there to have longer duration and battery storage. So from a purely technical perspective, that's definitely possible, because you can basically reduce also the nominal current of the batteries by using a suitable inverter. That's also a possibility that Terna has considered when preparing the auction documents. But at the other side, like you say, of course, it depends also on how you want to use the asset, and also what kind of hybrid possibilities you have. And in general, we're also of the opinion that the market usually defines the ideal duration, which is something we're seeing also in many other markets, because depending on the market application, you basically will define the duration. But just to highlight maybe why also lithium-ion was also chosen for a long duration scheme as one of the preferred technologies. If we look also at the commercial maturity of lithium-ion technology, I think it's important to highlight that lithium-ion has seen a large decrease in pricing over the last decade, and that's also probably something that's going to play into it. But in a nutshell, there is no technical, no great major technical challenges for 8-hour duration for batteries, but it depends basically on how the operators want to size the systems best.
So technology is not an issue, but I think the economics are, right, in terms of them being competitive, essentially, the bottom line. I was also very surprised by the choice of 8 hours with lithium iron particularly, and then, I mean, pump hydro makes more sense, but then considering, how long it takes to to the permitting for a brand with the time required. Maybe we don't have enough time. So there is a question here that I think is excellent and really short, is when will the auction be? Very simple. Do we know when it's going to be?
Terna stated that they want to have the first auction in December 2024, at the end of this year, in order to have the project ready with the 3-year planning period for 2028. I think that the main obstacle was the approval of the European Commission. We have received that back in December. So now it's just a matter of publication of documents, and I don't see any major obstacle towards the auction. So it could be the end of this year, beginning of the next, but we're not talking like 2-3 years.
Maybe that there will be a delay in recent weeks. From the Ministry of Environment, they declared that the final delivery of the framework will be in the second part of this year, and so probably also the auction will take part in the first half of 2025. The delivery period is 2028, so it's some time in more for authorizing more plants and to make more competitive the auction, probably.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you one more question. Do you know that I think I've already marked it? It says, given that Turner requires 9 to 20 gigawatts to achieve 71 gigawatt hour, just moved, by 2030, and there are already 70 gigawatt grid applications submitted, is the battery energy storage market not already saturated for incoming developers? This is an excellent question, I think, of understanding the orders of magnitude. That is not to say you can't be very optimistic and still think you can make it, but do we have an issue with saturation or pre-saturation of battery energy storage system? Who wants to go? Andrea, do you want to start?
We have at the moment less gigawatts in authorized or in authorization permitting phase. So probably there will be a space. We are very close to be saturated as a market, but not all the projects will be successful, and so I think that there is still space for new projects and connected also with the huge development of renewable plants. In that case, probably there will be a higher mortality than in the battery storage case.
And let me add something on this. We as Elements, we have evaluated different projects, different battery projects. What we've seen is that not all of them have the same quality in terms of feature to be authorized and connected to grid. We see lots of connection to new substation that will be built in 10, 12 years from now. And so you understand that even if the pipeline, the request of connection is something in the order of 100 gigawatt, because now we have more or less 100 gigawatt of pipeline, which is 10 times the targets for 2030, you also need to take into account that not all of them are good projects. And in a competitive environment like the Maxi, only the best project will make it to the end. So now the premium of the development is not focused on just requiring the connection. Let's say the good part of development is not just requiring the connection and get the authorization, but is to develop a good project that has good feature to participate effectively into this auction. So I don't think I think there is let's say additional space for developer, but for a good development, a fair development, not just requiring connection and finding some land, which is something that has saturated the grid in Italy, both for battery and for PV and wind, with 300 and more connection requests, of gigawatt of connection requests.
But a good save there, huh? You were going to say a lot, and then you changed, and you were like some. So good save there. Okay, I have one more question. Carmen, did you want to add anything on this, or No?
Fully agree with Salvatore. No, nothing to add.
Okay, so there is one question here that I want to answer, and then if you want to answer any question, take a look, and we can do it at the end because we're coming to an end now. The question from Christiana that says, is there any prospect of maxi auctions having a nodal rather than zonal requirement? This is like interesting to me.
I think it could be, in the sense that in principle, Terna is talking about areas, and when talking about areas, not talking about zones. So it may be the case in which Terna will define nodal support, let's say nodal volumes in some cases. I believe that in the first auction, Terna, but it's just my believing, so it's not something which is backed by statement by the TSO or other information we have collected, that in the first auction, Terna may leave some kind of space to the developers in different areas, so without regulating too much the mechanism, and then starting to define nodal volumes and nodal supported volumes in next auctions in case battery do not, let's say, say batteries in the nodes where needed are not part of the past auction. So I think that the regulation will shape the market, but not in this first part in a couple of years, I think.
Excellent. Do you guys want to answer any specific question? We have 9 open right now, because we're out of time, but maybe we can do like just a couple of minutes really quickly. If there is anything that you feel like we haven't gone through and that you want to answer, leave you like 30 seconds to read around. And then after that, we'll call it a day. I hope that you guys enjoyed the webinar. I think there's been a lot of information here today, very, very interesting. And I hope that you join us for the event. Renmark Italy storage, you guys are going to be there, and there is a lot of learning to be done. I think having these conversations, and setting up these relationships is key. So any questions that you'd like to answer, Carmen?
No, I think we've covered it pretty much also by writing.
Perfect. Yeah, you've written a lot, so thank you very much for the 3 of you. Salvatore, anything you'd like to answer just before we go?
The same for me. You have my email, so for additional questions, you can feel free to contact me here on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I was saying. This is not only about learning, it's also about networking, even though we're all remote in our offices. So at the end of the presentations, you can see the emails for everyone, so reach out. And Andrea, do you have any last question that you want to? No? Okay, excellent.
Same for me.
Yes.
We are available to answer to all the questions in written way.
Excellent. So thank you very much to all of you for all of the imparting of this knowledge and sharing it with us. You guys know where you have to go if you're looking at developing projects and getting into the maxi auctions. These are your people, they can help you out. Just reach out. And thank you very much, people in the audience, and also you guys for being there. And see you in Rome in April. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you again.